It's alive! It's alive!
Otherworldly presents Dead On Movie
Salutations and mutilations. You're listening to Otherworldly Culture presents Dead On Movie Reviews. Tonight we will present horror movie reviews and lively debate here on otherworldlyculture.com and on future select Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that's 7 p.m. Central Time. Now I know what it is. You can join our live chat at the time by clicking on the live shows link on the otherworldlyculture.com website. What is going on with my camera? It's flashing. It's not raining out or anything. I'm your host, Tim Kretschmann. We're coming to you from the land of lakes and landfills, beautiful and smelly Muskego, Wisconsin. It's my honor to introduce the Faculty of Fear panel presenting tonight's lectures. All right, Tracey de Leon has been in over 11 films, a good friend of the show, with numerous appearances here, and it's a thrill to have her on the show again with us tonight. She is the denizen diva of the disturbing, who frequently partakes in films quite unnerving. She always gives the straight dope and goes into every film with a glimmer of hope. She is afraid to go ankles deep into a flick and call out douchetards for being a prick. Now it's my pleasure to set out eyes all upon our panelist tonight, Tracey de Leon.
Tim, that never gets old. I love it. Hi, guys.
Hey, Tracey.
Now, I get to introduce, hailing from the Motor City, Detroit, Michael Cieslak is a lifetime reader and writer of horror, mystery, and speculative fiction. He has served as an officer in the Great Lakes Association of Horror Writers and is the editor of the Eerie Tales anthologies. Michael is the editor-in-chief of Dragon's Roost Press, and his works have appeared in a number of collections, including DOA, Extreme Horror, Dead Science, Vicious Verses, and Reanimated Rhymes, and the collaborative steampunk novel, Army of Brass. He is a kilt enthusiast, and he's killing it over at the dragonsroost.net. Michael Cieslak, how are you doing tonight?
Good evening. Wow, that one was only 20 minutes long.
You know?
You've got the edited version of the intro today.
What I'm starting to do is I'm switching out what books I'm mentioning each time.
I appreciate that, because we've got more in the pipeline.
Oh, my God. What are you working on right now?
Hey, you know what? We have had 2 that came out so far this year, and since you said that, I'm going to do... camera, you balls. I have to pull it next to my face here. Ken McGregor's collection, Lions, Tigers, and Wares. You may be familiar with this title from the film Hollywood Mortuary. Ron Ford adapted his own script, and we have published that. And coming soon, our very own Peggy Christie's new collection, Forever Trapped, based on the song by Genesis.
Hey, we
Fantastic.
know Peggy. We
know Peggy.
Yeah,
We know Peggy
wow.
well.
Fantastic. You know, sometime we should just do a show where you tell us what books are coming up. We should just do that. Because
There's more coming too, don't worry. I've got more for next week.
Fantastic.
Plus a Kickstarter in the pipeline.
Wow. I didn't know any of this. Why do you not tell me until we're on the air? What's going on with that?
Because I never think about it. I should have had all this stuff out on the website like weeks ago, but I've been busy publishing books, man. What can I do?
He's the writer that doesn't write on his own website.
Seriously, yeah.
It's like what do they say? The plumber with the leaky pipes. You know,
Yep.
It's like, yeah, well, that's my
Electrician
thing.
with the burnt out bulb.
Life.
Well, fantastic. Okay, by the way, we want to say hi to our chat room. Susie, you're in there. Thanks for coming out. We appreciate it, Susie. And to all the others that are in the chat room, which is not super busy right now, Alice out there, I think. We'd like to thank you all for joining us because we're going to get things started right now. And we're going to go to our friend Tracey.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, this is not a surprise. We discussed this before the show. So, Tracey, what have you been watching?
I've been watching The Rite, directed by Michael Hafström.
Hofstrom. Okay.
Easy for you to say.
I think he's Icelandic.
I think she's making that up, but okay.
I am.
All right.
So it's actually based off the book by Matt Baglio. I said that wrong too, I'm sure.
Okay.
But the book is called The Rite, Making of a Modern Exorcist. And the screenwriter was Matt Petroni, something like that. Anyway, but the cast is really great. Anthony Hopkins, Alice Braga. Do you know who she is?
Who?
Alice Braga. She
That
was in
name
the
sounds familiar.
South, I believe.
What?
Something like that.
What was she in?
Wasn't she in like Queen of the South? She was like,
That
I don't know,
sounds
turned into a big old gangsta.
okay. It's a name that's familiar to me. That's for sure.
I'm sure if you've seen her face, you know. And then there's a guy I have not seen him before, is Colin O'Donoghue.
Okay.
So in the beginning of the film, it gives you a quote from Pope John Paul II, which is the battle against the devil, which is the principal task of St. Michael the Archangel, is still being fought today because the devil is still alive and active in the world. And then after that quote, it goes into this mortuary
Okay.
where Colin, I can't remember his character's name right now, I'm sorry, but he is actually giving a young lady, well, he's cleaning her and things like that, preparing her for her funeral.
Hold on. He's cleaning her?
Yeah, he's washing her hair, doing her nails, cleaning her.
Not with his tongue.
For viewing, right?
Okay, not with his tongue.
No.
Okay. Well, you have to check. It's a priest.
Sponges and hands.
Okay.
So after he's done with that, he walks out and you see his father sitting there. And of course, later down the line, you see flashbacks of him and his father cleaning his mother and preparing his mother for her funeral. And he was very young at the time. But anyway,
Okay.
You go forward a little bit and he's with a friend and he's really wanting to get out of the mortuary business, but he tells his friend, in my family, we're either morticians or we're priests. And the kid's like, well, change your last name. Are you gay? Just whatever, just do whatever. If you don't like either, just do something else, basically.
Right.
And so he decides to get out of the mortuary business and go into priesthood. But there's another reason behind him wanting to do that. What he's doing is he's going to join the priesthood to cover his expenses for his college tuition, because he realized that they would do that all the way up till he finished, right? So towards the end of him becoming a priest, he decides to want to drop out. So he sends his professor an email and tells him, I'm going to be done with it. And then sadly, some sort of accident happened and he has to give this woman her last rites right there in front of the priest that was meeting him to talk about his email. And the woman dies. And a few days later, because of the incident, the priest comes to him and says, if you leave the school right now, your scholarship will then be turned into a student loan and you will have to start repaying. Or you could go to the Vatican for 2 months in Italy and learn how to become an exorcist. And then he went on to explain how many exorcisms are performed every year, how many the Vatican, things like that.
Wow.
I know, it's actually a pretty good flick, but
Okay.
Plus,
yeah.
free trip to Italy. Hello.
I know. Once in Italy. Hello. Hello. So he's in Italy and he meets a journalist who is Alice Braga's character. And he is a non-believer. He doesn't believe in exorcisms. He believes it's more mind over evil.
He believes it's a psychological problem.
Definitely believes it's more psychological than anything.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Because of this, his professor at the Vatican, who's teaching him exorcisms, sends him to Anthony Hopkins' character. I can't remember his name either, so sorry. He sends him to him, who is the one who performs the majority of exorcisms.
I have his character name. It's Father Hannibal.
That's it, yeah.
So.
That happened.
Okay.
Anyway, so after going through some exorcisms with him, he still is a non-believer. And I'm not going to give up all the exorcisms because actually the very first one you see is pretty intense. I liked it. I liked the scene. It was really good. Okay. Anyway, so in the end, what happens is Father Hannibal, he actually gets possessed by the demon who he was trying to cast out of a pregnant woman. So this is when Colin's character starts to realize it's real. I need to start believing. Otherwise, evil stuff is really going to start happening to me, considering what he's seen, throughout the exorcisms that he has accompanied Father Hannibal on. So basically, in the end, what I see it as being is like he's a non-believer, but in the end, he starts to believe the unbelievable or the unthinkable, the unfathomable, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Okay.
But it is based on actual experiences of Father Gary Thomas, who is a priest in California, and he was literally assigned by his bishop to study exorcism in the Vatican. So it is based on actual experiences.
Now, I thought I had heard that it's some ridiculous statistic, but they actually send out these priests, and at first they try to decide, is it just a hoax? Is it just a psychological issue before they bring in the exorcist? That there's 99% of them are fake, and then they actually perform the rite on the last 1%. Does that sound
that is true?
Right? Okay.
Which I think is 189,000 are reported, and maybe only 3 or 4 are true.
Okay, that sounds.
And 5 and 6 become movies based on certain recently deceased people, like The Conjuring and the Warren stuff.
Yeah,
and Queen
Colin's
Elizabeth.
Character, when he's in classes, he's always debating the scripture. He's always giving his professor or whoever he is, it could just be something else. It could be something psychological. So he'll go into that. So, it's a good film.
Okay. Yeah. Now, it sounds almost a little documentary-esque. Is it frightening or is it rather dry?
There's not really frightening moments, but there are
intense.
It is very intense, especially in a couple of the exorcism scenes. Okay, fuck. Sorry. Oh, I said the F word.
You get a point.
Minus a point. So there's a pregnant woman who is getting exorcised, and it is pretty intense.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
It's like, the Haunting of Emily Rose, how she was always, her body would just contort. Imagine it being a pregnant girl. It's crazy.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That's
So it's intense. It's not scary or thrillery-ish unless
Okay.
you are, timid of the unknown.
yeah.
Then you'd be squirmish, but it was just intense for me.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
How was Anthony Hopkins? Was he a little bit over the top, or was he watching himself this time?
He did. Okay, so in this film is not the same as Silence of the Lambs, but his performance in Silence of the Lambs was spot on the character. I would say it's the same for him in The Rite. He did a great job portraying his father.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's cool.
I know.
All right. Okay, that means it is time for us to do grading, but I'm a little rusty. Let's see if I get this right. I think I press this button, and the button's not working. Why? There. Maybe it's going. There we go. My God. All right. What do you rate? It's also a tad bit loud again. Unbelievable.
The Rite, an A from me. A, you better see it.
A, you better see it.
Yeah.
All right. Passing out a free A right there.
Yes,
Tracy,
right.
No.
you're
I think it earned the A. That was a good movie.
Oh, you've seen it?
I've seen it. I really liked the way they played with, and I'm sorry, I can't remember any of the characters' names, but the new priest and how he was questioning everything and questioning his faith. I thought they did a really good job with that. And
Wow.
Yes.
Oh
my gosh.
really.
Green Ray, he did an amazing job portraying the actual experiences. I mean, it was great. I mean, everything about it was really good.
Well, they really do a good job these days with some. What just happened? Did a truck run one of my participants over?
Damn, you're going in and out.
yeah, we're losing you, Tim.
Are you?
I was.
That's weird. We got like this loud truck noise that happened. All right. Well,
Which button was that on the soundboard?
the soundboard, I haven't used it much tonight. Here, let's just play one at random.
Throw one out, Tim.
All right, let's get this one going.
Red box. Put it in your butt box.
Remind us of our other Michael. So that happened. Also, want to say hi to Sandy. Sandy just joined us in the chat room. So we actually got people in the chat room now. So we have to start shaping up. A little better to start doing the show here. All right. So I have to try to press the right button. Let's see what happens when I press this one. I think we should see Michael any minute here. There he comes. Hello. Hey. How are you? Well, first of all, I think we should always remind Michael of this. Stop writing your book for a minute. And now let's give us a review.
Fingers off the keyboard.
Yeah, fingers off the keyboard. And why don't you tell us what you've been watching for this week's Dead On Movie Reviews?
I watched the Taking of Deborah Logan, which was, there are two words which will strike fear into the hearts of most horror movie enthusiasts. Found footage.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
This is a found footage film, and it answers the question of why these people are filming right away, and it does a good job of explaining where they got the footage from and why it was filmed in the first place. And it has nothing to do with the fact that they were looking for ghosts, which right off the top, very refreshing to not have it be, like ghost hunters looking for something, so we're setting up cameras. Now I have to look at my notes because I already forgot everybody's name. There are a couple of actors in this who you will go,
hold on,
what do I know her from?
Mike,
what do I know her from?
Hold on, Mike.
Okay.
Tracy?
Yes.
Notice Mike is singing in tonight's show, but you haven't sung in tonight's show.
Oh,
that has
gotta wait
reminded
for the
you.
right soundboard. You got to find the right one.
Here, we'll get you going.
Well, let's go.
All right.
Always nice
Not
to be
with
called
that,
a sexy lady. Thank
That's
you.
for in-person seeing thing.
All right. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, I always interrupt. That's kind of my brand. Okay.
That's quite all right.
Yes.
The titular character, Deborah Logan, is played by Jill Larson, who people will know as Opal Cortland from All My Children for apparently ever.
Okay.
Not something I knew. Her daughter Sarah is played by Anne Ramsey, and she's the one that I was staring at, and I could not remember who it was that she played that I knew her from. So I finally had to go to the Oracle, and IMDb told me she was on Mad About You. She played Lisa Stemple, who was Helen Hunt's sister and their next door neighbor. I'm like, that's where I know her from.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I know that name. All right.
Okay. Mia Medina, is played by Michelle Ang, and she is kind of our lens to watch this through. She's a PhD candidate, and her thesis is basically this video that we end up watching. She is going to be almost encamped with Deborah Logan, who is in the early stages of Alzheimer's, and her PhD work is on how changes in the patient not only affect the patient's mental states, not only affect the patient themselves, but also the primary caregiver. So she's going to be doing a lot of work with Deborah and with her daughter Sarah. We kind of learn backhanded that they need to do this because there's going to be some grant money coming into them, and otherwise Sarah's going to lose the house that she grew up in, that Deborah's currently living in. They don't have the money to pay for her care at the moment. Very tragic. And a good chunk of the movie, we get to see Deborah's progression, which she's supposed to be in the early stages of Alzheimer's and then kind of rockets right down to late stages very quickly, and the doctors have no idea why this is happening. They expect her to have 3 or 4 years where she's just kind of having like senior moments where she forgets where something was or can't place a name, but suddenly she's having like blackouts, she's having fugue stages. She's spending a lot of time in the garden, digging up holes, and then there's a great scene where she can't find her spade, and she just goes absolutely insane on the camera crew. And that's where we start to get is something weird going on here? Is there like a touch of the supernatural that's going on? We're not sure, but her digression as she loses her mental faculties and becomes more aggressive and angry all the time. It's really heart-wrenching, and it's very horrifying. And it's too much for one of the team members who's like, this is like crazy shit that I didn't sign up for is happening here. I'm going to bounce. And he bounces. And we learn that very early on that she was kind of the nexus of the small town that they're in. She was Sarah's dad died at an early age, and as a single parent, she had to find a way of caring for her child while still making a job. So she became a switchboard operator for all of the important people in the area. The doctors, the lawyers, the bank manager, and she also had to keep their secrets. So we learned that early on, and that kind of sticks in the back of your head like, okay, this is going to come back. Something juicy is going to be there. And she has a neighbor, Harris, who you never quite trust because he seems to be too helpful and he's too friendly, and she ends up doing some terrible things to herself. Deborah Logan, at one point, like rips a chunk of the flesh in front of her throat out. I think we get to see like the blood that's coming out at that point. She degloves one of her hands to get out of a restraint. If you're not in for physical stuff, there's a little bit of gore in here that's really well done. I mean, it's quite believable looking.
Okay.
It's a very slow burn up until about the 1 hour mark, so about 2/3 of the way in, and that's when the supernatural switch gets flipped, and it gets flipped hard. And I don't want to give any of that away, but there is.
I have a feeling I'm giving some away with the photos we're showing.
There's some question about possession, so we can just tie all these movies in together if Tim plays his cards right.
Okay, mine might be a little stretchy, but we'll try.
And that splits up the team as well. There are those kind of like in Tracy's movie, you have those who are looking for a rational explanation. No, this is just a old woman who very sadly is losing her mental faculties, and she's lashing out at people, and then her daughter is saying, no, there's something else going on here, and if we can fix the something else, then we can maybe help my mom, or at least make her less dangerous.
Mike, can I go on a rant?
Go.
You're an author, so you'll know what I'm talking about. I hate it in stories, and this has been happening a lot with modern movies, where they feel like they got to explain every goddamn thing that comes up on the screen. Oh, she's getting Alzheimer's. Well, it must have been a radioactive spider that bit her or something, because we got to explain why she has that. Give me a break. As I've said before, nobody said, hey, why is that shark continuing to kill people on Amity Island? You know why? Because we needed a movie. That's why. All right? This is also the reason that Blake Lively, for some reason, takes off her wetsuit in the shallows. You know, it's like, well, it's a movie. We need people in the seats. She's taking the wetsuit off. I get a little tired of it, and the movie I always go to is Rob Zombie's Halloween. That movie is not as good as John Carpenter's Halloween. You know why? They try to explain this nonsense. This guy is crazy. We don't need to know why. We need to be frightened. And frankly, when things get explained, they're not scary anymore. Dracula is super frightening when you read the book through the first 4 chapters. As you learn what a vampire is, it becomes an adventure tale. It really does. And, the book It I recently read because of the movies. The explanation for Pennywise makes no sense. Why is that book better for explaining it? I don't get it. Don't explain it. Just don't explain it. It's a crazy ass clown. It's a crazy clown. He's got magic powers. I don't get it. Why do we always have to explain stuff?
I'm pretty sure that they had an explanation in the Jaws sequel that featured his wife getting revenge on the family and following him all the way to the Caribbean, didn't they?
That was 4. That was 4. In two. Okay, this is how ridiculous I am on these films. In the second movie, they bring a marine biologist in, and they show a dead orca on the shore because they were taking a swipe at the movie Orca, which was a ripoff of Jaws, and they show all the shark bites. And he goes, do you think if, a shark was in an area and then he's killed, that he sends out a signal to somebody else? And she looks at him and she goes, sharks do not take things personal. Flash forward 2 sequels. It's literally, this time it's personal is the tagline. So, okay. Somehow I made this possession film into a treatise on Jaws. Thank you.
I'm not saying it's a possession film, though. I'm saying that it has elements, and they're asking whether or not she's possessed. You'd hate it because there actually is in the very beginning, you get to see the very opening of the documentary that they're setting up, and she explains what Alzheimer's is and how the proteins get into your brain and jack things up. Almost owed you a point there.
Yeah, though, there's a certain amount of explanation that you kind of need. I understand that. Like, the Wolfman, the original Wolfman, they have to establish that Silver kills the Wolfman. Otherwise, you're like, wait a minute, they were shooting the Wolfman a minute ago, but the minute he gets hit with the silver cane, he crumples like a house of cards. What's going on?
Spoiler alert, hello?
What was that movie? Hold on, I want the year on that movie. Was it 1940 something? I just spoiled. I feel bad about it, actually, because I think a lot of people don't see the classics anymore.
That's a terrible thing. I will agree with you on that.
Yeah, you kind of, and kids, if you're looking for those films, there's a fun way to watch them. It's called Svengoolie, and it's on MeTV. Watch it every week. This can be your homework. All right. Okay, and I got somebody in the chat room is agreeing with me. That always gets spotlighted on the show when somebody agrees with me.
He's in the spot.
Because it's so rare.
People that agree with me are generally also correct, so I am going to give her a shower of lightning bolts. So there you go. There's a shower of lightning bolts. Okay.
Well, I'm only going to partially agree with you.
Soundboard, Tim.
I'm only partially going to agree with you on the Halloween remake. Part of the reason that it sucked was because they explained Michael Myers' backstory, which I will agree with you is completely unnecessary.
Right.
Another part of it, hot take, is that it was made by Rob Zombie, who is a crappy movie creator.
I would debate with
having a narrated love story. And now he's going to grab her hand, raise her hand up to his chest as he pulls her. I mean, come on, that's ridiculous. You don't need to do that. Everybody knows what Michael Myers does. He's crazy.
I would debate with you the second part if I felt you were wrong. But I'm not going to debate it with you because I almost liked House of a Thousand Corpses.
I almost asked for the $1.50 I paid to get to see it at the dollar show back. Okay. I almost asked for my 6 quarters back.
Well, let me explain this. This is okay. We all know I'm pretty shady, right? So I was an early adopter of Netflix. This is my House of a Thousand Corpses story, everybody. And I did not order up House of a Thousand Corpses, but it showed up at my house, along with the 2 DVDs that I did take out for that week, right? Because we all know at Netflix, originally it wasn't streaming. You got DVDs, and I could pick, I think it was 2 or 3 at a time, right? So I get these 3 DVDs, and I'm like, I didn't pick House of a Thousand Corpses. They don't know I have this. So I watched it, and I was like, okay, well, I'm sending it back anyway. They never would have known that I kept it. But I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to send it back. So not a fan. Not a fan. Alrighty. So Deborah Logan.
Alrighty then.
Oh, wait a minute. You were a manager of Blockbuster?
I was an assistant manager at a Blockbuster.
Wow.
Still Blockbuster.
And there's a new TV show coming out about Blockbuster on Netflix, of all places.
I know, and I was like, oh, you bastards, how could you?
Right.
Well,
I'm not saying that I didn't rent from Netflix while I was working for Blockbuster. I'm just saying there's some deals there, man.
And that kind of does Blockbuster right, because Blockbuster didn't buy Netflix when it had the chance.
Yep.
And then later on, when Netflix was starting to eat their lunch, they decided to open their own version of Netflix, which I was a member of, that Blockbuster Unlimited or whatever they called it, where you would basically get the DVDs, but then you could also sneak into the store and get one more each week. And I did that, but when the Blockbusters closed, I was very opportunistic, and I bought every backer for on the shelves, those cardboard pieces. I have approximately 350 downstairs.
What?
Yes, including Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus, which is probably my pride and joy. Have that one. Brings a tear to your eye, doesn't it, Mike?
Yeah, there's something wrong about you, my friend.
One of these weeks I'll bring a few out here and just show them, and you guys can just riff on them. All right, what else have we got?
I just have to make one more side comment on your digression there, and there is no movie that is not made better by a giant space turtle. So, hands down, gotta go with it.
Okay,
the book. And I'm saying that as someone who almost had his nose broken because I was lying back in bed reading the hardcover and I fell asleep and the thing fell on my face and I could have died.
That could have been a murder by Pennywise. Yeah. I knew it was coming by the time I read the book, the word had gotten out. And even when I read it, I went, no, people aren't putting me on. This is actually in the book.
It was the 80s. We were all coked up, man. Everyone, writers, readers, everybody. Okay. It made sense at the time.
My memories of it was that book was right next to V.C. Andrews' Flowers in the Attic. At the grocery store. 80s paperbacks were so awesome. There's a great book called Paperbacks from Hell.
Paperbacks from Hell, Grady Hendrix.
Yes. Absolutely awesome. All these covers of softcover books at that time, they were so creepy and horrible. It was awesome.
If you ever get a chance to see Grady's live show, drop whatever you are doing and do it, because it is the book, but it is him lecturing about the book, giving more insights about these horrible covers and the ridiculous plots. There is singing, there is dance, there's audience participation. It's amazing.
I would love to see that. He was on Fangorius McGarris's podcast. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just recently listened to it. I have no idea when these get recorded, but it was very good. He's an interesting guy.
He has some really outstanding books that are out too. I have probably somewhere here where I could reach it if I had the lights on.
Horror Store,
which if you get the correct paperback, looks like an IKEA catalog.
Yes, that I heard about.
And they're making My Best Friend's Exorcism, I think, is coming to one of the streaming services soon, like next month.
Oh, okay. Cool. I'm looking forward to it. Okay, we really should get to the grading.
Oh, were we talking about movies? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, and I should mention I did some looking on this. You had stated that it's free on YouTube, which it is, but you can also get it free on Prime Video, and as you pointed out, then no commercials. So
yeah, I had to watch like 4 seconds of commercials every 15 minutes. It was so annoying. I was like, skip. Totally broke the tension.
Isn't it funny? There is one movie. Everybody that's listened to this show a long time knows what I'm about to say. There's one movie I think that was improved by commercials and being on television. Can anybody guess? Anybody remember? Let's see if the chat room's going to remember. Oh, Susie Snowflake says, everything I learned in life, I learned from kindergarten or Blockbuster. Awesome. Okay, the movie that I think was improved by commercials and being on TV, in just a moment, after Mike tells us his grade for the Taking of Deborah Logan. That's a tease, friends.
The writing was good. The acting was amazing. There are some brilliant pieces of cinematography. I'm going with an A.
Holy cow! 2 A's! 2 A's!
Pressure is on you now, Tim.
Oh my God, did I pick the wrong movie? Okay, and I gave the chat room enough time. They did not come up with it. The movie is, of course, The Blair Witch Project. Blair Witch Project on free television? So much better. So much better. First, they clean up the language because the main lead girl is such a potty mouth. It's actually more entertaining hearing it bleeped out. It just makes it more real sounding in some way. The second thing is when you're on a big movie screen watching that movie, you are going to get motion sickness. That's what that's called. And on TV, it isn't as bad. And the thing was, where they put those commercials, it made you go, wait, what just happened? What's going on? You know, and you would freak out. And that was just my Jeff Miller voice there. Wait, what's going on? Help. So that that movie, I think, is a lot better when you see it on television. And I have to hit that one. And now we're coming to me. It's finally time for me to tell you a little bit about what I've been watching. And it's so memorable, I forgot. What is it that I watched? Oh, yeah, the Reef, Stalked. Oh, yeah, can't wait to tell you about this cinematic masterpiece. I don't know. Have any of you seen The Reef? The original movie before this wonderful sequel was made?
Sharks, Tim.
No? Okay. The Reef was made a couple of years back, and the big advertising push on this is, we're not using CGI sharks. We're not using... So they used a bunch of stock footage off of something on the Discovery Channel. They all but... You almost saw the logo of Discovery in the corner. You know, they took it off from Shark Week. And
so it was like an Italian movie from the 70s.
Yeah, yeah. But honestly, now I say that, I'm saying that for comedic effect. It actually wasn't a bad movie. In fact, a lot of people consider this one of the good ones. When it comes to shark movies, and I'm on a lot of shark forums, most people consider Jaws, of course, as the high watermark. Jaws 2 is often considered a decent sequel, but not nearly legendary. Then you hear about Deep Blue Sea. That's one a lot of people like. You hear about the Blake Lively one, The Shallows. That one comes up a lot. And then The Reef comes up a lot. Those are some of the movies that are considered, quote, the good ones. I would add a few. There's a lot of them that people put up that I say, no way. A lot of people want to push Sharknado into, like, it's a good movie. And I'm like, no, you can't say that. It's a terrible movie. But there are an awful lot of shark movies. The Reef Stalked does not, anything I was able to find online, does not appear to say that they were using natural footage or real footage. And I believe they actually use CGI in a couple of places because it's so ridiculous looking. It might have been an old-fashioned screen or something, or they just cut out, you know, some footage, but it looks pretty ridiculous. The movie starts with 4 young women scuba diving, and You know, the whole time you're watching that sequence, you're like, oh, who's getting it? Who's going to get chowed down first? Spoiler alert, because this is the first 5 minutes. They all survive that nonsense. I think that's a major mistake. But then
Boring.
the sister of who ends up being kind of our main character, because of course she's the prettiest, her sister gets killed by domestic abuse in a bathtub. She basically was held under the water and killed. This is like the third scene in the movie. It's like,
Jeez.
holy cow. And they keep flashing back to this horrific event over and over and over. Basically, every time they want you to think the shark is attacking, they go to the sequence of this woman struggling under the water. She's remembering the bathtub murder, which she did not see, by the way. She only discovered the body. She did not see her struggling underwater, but she keeps seeing it in these flashbacks. And I was starting to get irritated. This falls under, and I should come up with a clever phrase for this, but this is it's only a dream nonsense, where they show you something that did not happen just to scare you. And then, okay, we'll go back. You know, it's like they reset the movie. Okay, it was only a dream. And onward we go. They use this trick, I bet you, in excess of 10 times in the movie. You know what? The first time you get me. After that, I'm not scared of it anymore. And I go, oh, hey, we're back in the bathtub, are we? You know, it's enough of that. Let me go through my checklist. The acting is fine. The direction is fine. The story is fine. What we're talking about here is it possibly the perfect mediocre film. There is not one thing outstanding about it. Either outstandingly great or outstandingly horrible. It's like having an opinion about fog or a mist or smoke. It's like there's nothing there. Now what happens is a couple of years later or something, 3 of the 4 women that you know, because one of them died in the bathtub, they reconvene to go kayaking on the ocean. Now, I'm not a kayaker, but I always saw kayaking as something you do in a lake, something you do in a river. I didn't know that you go into deep, deep water and kayak. But apparently these brain scientists did. And, of course, the shark goes after them. Okay? The rest of the movie is about them either being in the kayak or later on they get into a dinghy and they tie 2 kayaks to the side to make it more stable because, you know, you need a bigger boat. And they start making for the mainland or another island. First you're taking a kayak, then you're at an isolated island that doesn't have any medical facilities, so you got to try to go to some other island. Ridiculous. It's CGI, and there are these like CGI little sequences that I think look terrible. And they, at one point, they're like, we're not going to get away from them. We're being stalked. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is a callback to Jaws 4. And I'm like, this is just not reasonable. They're trying to make something that's more realistic. Because, as I've said before, the shark in Jaws literally just needs to get himself a ski mask. He's a psychotic fish, So they sit there and they have the shark following them. Makes no sense. They're not bleeding. They're hardly making any sound in the water. But, they're doing this. Luckily, Jaws 4 does exist. So there is a film that's much worse than this movie. Again, This movie isn't terrible. I'm sorry, what, Tracy?
Did anyone even get attacked?
There are some attacks. I'm not going to get into it because literally that's the only joy in the film is watching people get chewed on. If I take away that, there's no reason at all to ever see this. But
Kind of sounds like you're already there.
Honestly, I kind of am because I'm like, who would I recommend this to? And I'm like, maybe enemies. People I don't like very much. Then I looked, as you know, I'm always kind of curious about this stuff. So I looked at all the major streamers. I don't see this thing for free anywhere. I see, like, on Amazon, it was $4 to rent this thing. Do not pay $4 to rent this thing. This is going to be a freebie on Sci-Fi Channel or something in the very near future because it is absolutely vanilla. Drinking water has more flavor than this film. There's no spice to it at all. Even they have, beautiful young girls in the leads, but they're not even like, wow, they're striking or anything like it. It's kind of like, yeah, they're pretty girls. Okay. And I'm a guy. I'm usually afterwards checking out, okay, have they done Playboy's spread? Have they done this? I like, okay, whatever. Done with the movie. There are some very thick Australian accents. Not to the point where you can't make out what they're saying, but be advised when you watch this film, you are not going to be hearing American accents at all. It's all very, very Australian.
Was it filmed in Australia?
That's my guess. You can tell I was really enthused about the movie because I can't answer that directly. I was just like, I'll watch this. I was telling everybody before we went to air, I feel kind of duty bound to review these movies because everybody considers me, quote, the shark guy. But honestly, don't see this. There's a lot of bad shark movies out there. If you want a low budget, good shark movie, first of all, there's not many. But second of all, there are a few that are worth seeing. One would be Deep Blue Sea 3, not 2. 2 is terrible. 3 is actually pretty good. And there's one called Swamp Shark. That was one of these sci-fi movies. That one, for some reason, was actually scary in a couple of sequences. I don't know why. I mean, the shark, it's the same problem Jaws has. All you got to do is run up on the island. It's like, nana, boo-boo, you can't get me. But that movie is scary. So if you're looking for a shark movie, watch Deep Blue Sea 3. Go see Swamp Shark. But don't see Reef Stalked. It's not worthy of your time. Even though I say it's a very mediocre film, and I mean that, it's extremely mediocre. It's about as mediocre as you get. That ain't good enough for me. So I'm actually going to give it a D+ as mediocre.
Oh.
That's a don't see on my list.
Don't watch. Don't go see this. It's just not worth it. It's not worth your time.
Yeah.
You shouldn't see this thing. It's terrible. So
you're busting up the curve here, man.
Yeah. So 2 A's and a D+. Yikes. That's pretty scary. Hey, want to thank everybody that went into our chat room tonight.
Thanks, guys.
We appreciate it. Oh, I got to do some promos here. Let's see. What have I got? Let's hit this button and see what comes up. Oh, yes. We want to remind everybody that Horror Realm is coming. Our good friend Sandy in the chat room would be happy to tell you more about it. And I know some volunteers from Horror Realm are there. Mike, of course, you visited last year.
I was there last year. Mm-hmm.
Well, the countdown has started. 123 days. Get ready. Holy cow. And of course, you can find out more by checking out the otherworldlyculture.com website. We'll be having some updates there as well. Or you can go to horrorrealmcon.com. Coming up on Thursday, we have Dead on the Bases. Jeff will be reviewing a very nice movie. It's kind of a romance. It's called Dawn of the Dead, 1978. That's the film I gave to my friend that doesn't like horror films. I think, honestly, I think they're saving a special place for me in heaven. And I will be reviewing, because Jeff knows that I kind of like curling. He decided to give me the only curling film that I know of, and that one is called Men with Brooms. And I will be reviewing. Oh my God, somebody else has watched this thing. So
I love curling.
Yeah, well, we'll be talking about that on our show. Again, you can always find everything about Otherworldly Culture on otherworldlyculture.com. But our guests also have websites. If I press the right button, we might even get it. There we go. TheDragonsRoost.net. You can check that out. Lots of fun, and apparently 5 million books approximately. Amazon,
pretty close.
Amazon actually called up Dragon's Roost and said, hey, we can't keep up with all of these releases. You really need to slow her down. So that's a fact, because I read it and it's science. And
I saw it on the internet, so it must be true.
Absolutely. And then our good friend Tracy also has a website, but it's not coming up here. Why?
I'm slacking to get that updated.
Yeah. Why is it not showing up? I don't know why, but I know why. I have that still on, right? It should go. There we go. There's Tracy. Tracy.
Sorry, I didn't mean to hog the screen, Tracy.
Yes.
I can have it.
Yeah, I just don't know how to operate my equipment.
You're in high demand, Mike.
What Tracy often tells me to do is just click on her IMDb page over and over and over again. That's a good thing to do to any of your friends that is a performer. Go out to their IMDb page and just click on it like 50 times or something like that. Nice thing to do. So you can check her out at TraceyDeLeon.com. And then I have whatever this and then again I tell you about Horror Realm. So there you go. Another pitch for that. That's coming March 3rd through the 5th in a city I've never heard of before. It's called Pittsburgh.
I wish I had known you were going to do the Dawn of the Dead. I would have worn a different shirt. Well, I stopped by the Monroeville Mall on my way back from my East Coast tour that I did.
Yeah.
Went to the Living Dead Museum and have a Monroeville Mall map t-shirt.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Well, sorry.
Yeah, next time. Next time.
You know, of all the zombies in a mall movies, I like it the most. I know some people like the remake. I'm back and forth on the remake. I do think there's some great aspects to the remake, but I still love the original, and the gore just cannot be beat. It is so over the top. I love the Crayola crayons that they must have melted for the blood. Just awesome. So, all right, so that's coming up on Thursday. You, of course, are all welcome to come on out and join the chat room. I have a feeling Susie might be out there. We're going to have a great time coming Thursday to our airwaves. I also have in the chat room here, it looks like Sandy says there will be some guest announcements for Horror coming soon. So, I'm going to spoil one. I'll be there. Yeah, nobody's interested, but I will be there.
I am.
So remember, you can check out otherworldlyculture.com on Twitter, on Facebook, all over the place. Just give us check it out. And you can reach out to any of us by sending an email to our first name, except for Mike. I forget what we set yours up to because we got two Mikes. By at otherworldlyculture.com. So if you want Tracey at otherworldlyculture.com. I'm Tim at otherworldlyculture.com. I don't know what I set you up at. We should probably figure out a good
Figure
one.
that out.
Before I announce this on the show, I should probably figure that out.
That email, Tim.
Let's, Mike, we'll talk about that off the air. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. So glad you could join us. And remember, when you aim at horror, make sure you are dead on. See you next time.
Bye.
There.
Wah, ah, ah, wah. There it is.
I had to. Duty bound.